You are now listening to the fastest show on iSports Radio. My name is Daryl Kinsey Jr. Welcoming you. Taking another lap of extra mile for today, September 22nd, 2022. And ladies and gentlemen, the temperatures are getting colder, the days are getting shorter, and that means the racing season, well, it's starting to come to an end. Only 2 months remain in the international racing calendar. Feels like yesterday we were just starting with the Rolex 24 of Daytona, but nope, it is all coming to an end. And to help me get to the end of this deal, of course, my co-host, Michael Ward.
What's going on, everybody?
Good to hear from you again, Michael. And hey, if you're in the chat, leave a comment. We will read it out on the show this evening. No Christopher Lehman this evening. He may be listening. We will read his comments as he posts them, if he posts them. Text me, whatever he decides to do. We're going to go ahead and get started. Only one race from last week to really get into because, well, we were supposed to have a Russian Grand Prix, but then Russia decided to do an oopsie-poopsie in Ukraine. So we don't have that race anymore. So we don't have any Formula One. IndyCar is over. That means we've just got NASCAR to talk about, and that was the Bass Pro Shops night race won by Chris Buescher. And that is a race that, again, gives us yet another different winner, but also had a little bit of controversy because for the first time this year, we saw some true blue mechanical issues with the NextGen car. I mean, I won't say that this is the first time because we did have the issues with the fires, but had some widespread issues with the steering this week with the NextGen car, Michael.
Yeah, we had some really big issues with the steering this weekend. It's just one of those things where it's just like, the car has been fantastic this whole season, but ever since then, now we've started to realize some really, it started. I want to say it kind of started with a short track package not being all that great. And now that we've gotten to more tracks with more banking and everything like that, it just seems like there's more issues. There's some issues with the engine, and now it's catching on fire. And now that we have the steering alignment breaking in Bristol, it's a great car, but there's a lot that needs to be fixed. And that's kind of the thing that happens when you bring in a new car and a new package. It's like some things are honestly going to break. And, I think next year they'll definitely improve upon it. But, yeah, it's unfortunate for those teams in Bristol.
Well, we're now 27, 28 races into the season. And I think we can say that the only tracks where this car has gotten worse as far as the racing has been the short tracks. But by far the short track racing has not been good this year. And it comes to several factors. One, the fact of the matter is tires too hard. And Goodyear is going to have, for whatever reason, they are terrified of bringing a softer tire to the racetrack. And this really got started with all the tire issues at the Brickyard 400 back when we were on the oval. Since then, the tires have been getting harder and harder because they don't want a repeat of that. And it also comes to the fact of the horsepower. They're only doing 670 horsepower. They probably need to bump that up to 750, and to keep work off the teams, just do it 750 all the way around. Basically go back to what we had for the short track packages pre-next-gen car, and that will probably solve that issue. It's not something that takes rocket surgery, The bigger problems, however, we had 4 teams have issues with the steering. Alex Bowman, who ended up in a crash, Martin Truex Jr., Bubba Wallace, and Ty Gibbs. Bubba was actually running in the top 5 when his steering went out. All 4 of those cars did not finish the race. And the Fords, for some reason, had some sort of issue with their tires where they kept blowing. But the rack and pinion is more of an issue. Far too many people made a big deal about the tires popping. This is not the first time we've seen tires blow in NASCAR. It is not going to be the last time. Chill. But the issue with the steering seizing up, That is an issue that was talked about during the preseason, and now it's an issue that we thought we had fixed at the mile and a halfs. Bristol is really the only place where it's going to put severe loads on the steering to where it's going to be an issue, and the steering on the concrete version of Bristol cracked on Saturday night.
Yeah, cracked pretty bad last night.
So it's something that's going to have to be looked into. And look, all these changes are going to end up going into a second iteration of the next gen car, and it's not out of the ordinary. We saw Gen 4 went through some changes. They used to go through weekly changes with all the issues with aerodynamics and the like. This car now is probably going to go through another iteration at some point. The COT went through 2 generations, culminating in the Gen 6. So there's a lot of new that is being learned, and NASCAR will have to go to work and fix it. And that's the only thing they can do, because they're not going to roll back out the Gen 6s and race, because y'all are not happy that the new technology is having new technology issues. But the big thing, though, that I think we have to focus on is they've got to figure out a way to increase driver safety, because we've heard a lot of comments that these cars are hard, that the hits are harder, and for the most part, Kurt Busch is done for the year. I don't think he's coming back.
I don't think
you put one driver out for the season. That cannot continue to be a thing, or folks going to have some serious questions about the safety of the sport.
Yeah, I think the Kurt Busch incident really put back into perspective of how, difficult this car has been on the drivers when it comes to impacts. And I think, like you said, they're gonna have to go back to the drawing board. Like NASCAR has always, like you said, had iterations of changing up the cars, and I think this year is not an exception. I think it's just gonna be another change up, and then it brings to wonder: are they gonna fix one issue and then another one pops up, or whatever? Because the car has been great racing wise. It's just the hits have been harder, and then the short track package hasn't been that great. So I just wonder what can they do to fix it, and how can they improve the safety, because we don't want these drivers to leave for a season like Kurt Busch did. Kurt Busch
Absolutely not.
Kurt Busch could be fighting for a championship right now, but instead he's being treated in the hospital. So,
Well, he's not in the hospital, but he can't
yeah,
climb back
right.
into the car. I know he's been doing some work at 2311, but he should be fighting for a championship right now. And I mean,
Yeah.
Bubba Wallace has that car securely into it's 8th right now, so they are the bump spot going into possibly getting into the round of 8. But you wish it was Kurt out there doing that. And Arthur Parsons says, "Good evening, fellows." Good evening, Arthur. Bio bulletin coming up at the end of this program, hosted by Mr. Parsons. But talking about the winner, Chris Buescher. Not a guy that I expected to get a win this year, but in a season as unpredictable that this one has been, completely for the norm that Chris Buescher would luck up and get win number 1 of the season. And this is actually the first time in the playoff rounds era all 3 races in a round were won by non-playoff drivers.
Yeah.
Eric,
that's crazy when you think about it.
Eric Jones won in Darlington. Bubba Wallace won in Kansas, although he should have been a playoff driver. That Michigan race looms large over his season, the way things are going. And now Chris Buescher getting RFK, which has had a really quiet season, by the way, back into victory lane. It's got to feel good for those teams that if you're the playoff drivers, if you're one of the 4 that got eliminated, if you could have picked up one of those wins, you would be sitting pretty right now, and that's going to be kicking those drivers the rest of this season.
Yeah, I feel you on that one, Daryl. That I would have been kicking myself too if I was one of those playoff drivers. Oh, okay.
Sorry about that. I had some technical difficulties. We're back and we're going.
Yeah, sorry about that.
So this will be actually the last Thursday for the Bayou Bulletin. They're going to be moving to Sundays, it looks like. So that's good. And we'll be able to pick up all your news about great New Orleans sports there. But as we continue on with NASCAR here, those playoff drivers, and unfortunately, Michael, I had an issue with the sound over here.
Yeah.
But the playoff drivers that got eliminated, they could have picked up a win. They'd be in right now. And it would have protected a guy like a Kyle Busch that had the engine failure. Obviously, Martin Truex Jr. is not in, but Austin Dillon, who did not have that great of a race, could have protected somebody like that could have been in the playoffs. Instead, they're out. And it's tough. I mean, Alex Bowman ended up in the wreck because of his issues. Austin Dillon was 31st because of the DVP. Those type of drivers, they needed, for all intents and purposes, I think we had them really in our first out. A win would have obviously moved them on and made Bristol a race that you don't have to worry about. But we are coming to the round of chaos that I like to call the round of 12. Texas coming up this weekend. If you're one of these 12 drivers, Elliott, Logano, Chastain, Larson, Byron, Hamlin, Bell, Blaney, Briscoe, Bowman, Suarez, Cindric, and Wallace in the owners race, you want to win at Texas. Because if you have to go to Talladega or the Roval needing a win, you are in trouble.
Yeah, you are in a heck of a lot of trouble. And honestly, Daryl, I think a lot of these teams this year, this race coming up at Texas, I think they're going to be a lot more aggressive.
I mean, as aggressive as you can get. And Texas is, well, if you've been listening to this show all year, you know how we feel about Texas Motor Speedway. It is not a place that we like at all. So, and I'll talk about Texas for a little bit. The track started out, it was pretty good, another cookie cutter. When we got to the COT, it became one of the most compelling races in the playoffs. Many great moments there. The awesome duel between Matt Kenseth and Jimmy Johnson when Jimmy was on the tear comes to mind. Everybody remembers the fight. Jeff Gordon, Brad Keselowski going at it after Gordon got his tire cut down by Keselowski. And I'm a Gordon fan, but there was not enough room there to make that move. And then, of course, Jeff Gordon also got a fight with Jeff Burton after Burton just missed the caution or something and just ran over Jeff Gordon, and they got into a fight. It produced some really good moments. And then, Michael, they did a thing where I'd say they outthought themselves in trying to make the racing better. The place really just needed a fresh coat of asphalt. Instead, they lower one of the corner, or they change the banking on one of the corners, and it just messes up the flow of the racetrack. Then they put the PJ1 on the track, which did not help, and only made it worse because it ended up narrowing the groove for Formula One. I mean, not for Formula One, for IndyCar. And now the track is one of the most reviled on the schedule, I think, as far as fans are concerned.
Yeah, the racing is not great there. It's just you guys will see it in the upcoming race. It's not great to look at.
Mm-hmm. I hope and you talked about it a little bit earlier, about the aggressiveness of the playoff drivers. Do you think the added mix of this being a playoff race will help the drivers make this a better race?
Potentially, because if they can't really risk a repeat winner, not a repeat winner, but a new race winner that's not a playoff contender.
Yes.
So they're gonna definitely try to be a lot more aggressive because they're gonna need that guarantee to be in the playoffs.
And we already know Talladega is looming, and we know Talladega in the playoffs, chaos. And then you got to go to the Roval, that's more chaos, and you might have to deal with rain tires there if we can actually get some sustained rain to actually make that happen.
Right.
But we'll see. But it is a round where Texas is going to loom large, and it might make the race better. If it doesn't, well, Michael, at least there's only one of these on the schedule going into next year.
Yeah, but I
The other
think
race
it.
going to
Good.
go ahead.
But it will be exciting if it does. If these guys do get more desperate.
We hope they get more desperate, but I'm excited for that third round because we finally get to Homestead. This car, I am salivating for that race in the round of 8 because Homestead made the 550 package look good. If they can bring this car to that track, oh, it's going to be so good. It's going to be so good. I can't wait. Be 4, 5 wide everywhere. It's going to be awesome. But as we sit here, we do know our playoff grid. We gave who we thought were going to be our first 4 out this time. Michael, why don't we do it for this round as well? Who's going to be the first 4 out? And I think this is going to be the round where Austin Cindric and Chase Briscoe say goodbye. They had a quiet round 1. Well, all the playoff drivers really had a quiet round 1. And I'm just not sold on those drivers. I mean, Austin Cindric, since the Daytona 500, has not done a lot to impress me. I think he's going to get caught up here. Daniel Suarez, I love him. He was on the bubble going into this round. I think he will fall out of this round. And I think William Byron. The Hendrick cars have not looked that great going into the playoffs. The 48 and 24, we know they've been up and down. I think this round is going to be down for Byron. He's going to stay down, and he will end up outside of the Final 4 going into the round of 8. Who you got?
I'm surprised to hear you say that. But I will have to agree with you on Cindric. I think he hasn't shown much. Briscoe, yeah, he hasn't shown much. Well, actually, I feel like he might make it in.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, when I watch him race, he's up there. And you know how unpredictable some of these races are right now. So who knows? He might be able to sneak a win and get up there.
Well, it would shut me up if he did it.
Uh, who else? I actually have to look at the point standing because this field is so weird.
Yep.
But yeah, Daryl. Honestly, I don't know.
It's hard to predict. It's hard to predict this year with how chaotic this season has been. So I completely understand.
Another person, I guess, Suarez, but Suarez gets back on his consistency. Who knows? You might be able to sneak in there too.
We could have 20 different winners by the time the season ends.
Honestly, I wouldn't put it past it.
And I think we can get it. I honestly think we will get 20 winners by the end of this season. And that is what NASCAR wanted with this next gen car. It's working. Now I just wish we could get a little bit more practice time. But before we go to break, some news that I just saw come across my Twitter. NASCAR on Reddit is going to sponsor Ryan Vargas at Talladega. So r/NASCAR will be on Vargas's car.
I never thought I would see the day that a subreddit sponsored a car.
Yep. r/NASCAR is currently doing kickflips in celebration. We'll be right back. Shorter show this evening. When we come back, we are going to talk about the F1 2022 schedule or 2023 schedule and just how they're going to make this thing work. We'll talk about this on the other side of the break. You are listening to The Extra Mile here on iSports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
How many races you got?
What's up, sports fans? Are you looking for the latest on Northern California sports? Then take a trip out west with me, your host, Gina G, on Reppin' to NorCal Sports, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I'll be bringing it to you all the way live every Monday at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern. And it's always a packed show. I'll bring you everything Dynastic 49ers, the bite of the San Jose Sharks, torture of the San Francisco Giants, the Golden State Warriors that we still believe. Then take you across the bay to the rise and grind of the Oakland A's. I've got you covered on college ball from the Cal Bears to the Stanford Cardinal, so that no matter what, reppin' in NorCal sports is always reppin' the Bay. So if you bleed red and gold, or you're looking to keep an eye out west in them thar hills, don't miss me, Gina G, on reppin' in NorCal sports. Catch me every Monday at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern, and I'll have your fandom repped harder than a trio of defenders guarding Stephen Curry before his buzzer beater is Gucci.
It's IE Sports Radio. It is your direct feed for all that is sports. It is Philly Sports Talk with Cash and Chris every Tuesday night right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Philly Sports Talk with Cash and Chris is the most comprehensive view on Philadelphia sports exclusively right here on IE Sports Radio. You know what it is, your direct feed for all that is sports. Tuesday night, IE Sports Radio, Philly Sports Talk with Cash and Chris.
We are back here at Extra Mile on iSports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. And folks, if you want to support us, make sure you go to iSportsRadio.com, click on that Patreon link. $5, just $5 gets you a shout out on all 32 of our shows. And of course, higher tiers give you perks, including merchandise, access to the Podcasting University, and a chance to join in on a segment with our flagship show, The Defining Moment. So check that out, patreon.com/iSportsRadio. Make sure you get your support in, and thank you for continuing to make this your direct feed for all that is sports. We are back getting into the Formula One schedule here, as we've got a mini fall break before we get going, because like I said at the beginning, we should be getting ready for the Russian Grand Prix, and then Russia decided to do an oopsie poopsie, I'll call it, and that's putting it mildly, in Ukraine.
Mm-hmm.
And now we don't have that race anymore. I'm not going to make any more comments about that because I'm just going to get on a rant. Anyway,
Right.
the new for 2023 F1 calendar was released 2 days ago, and Michael and we're going to talk about it. Going into 24 races, the most that has ever been on the schedule. Michael, I will start there. I am not a fan of how many races are on this schedule. What say you?
I'm not a fan either. I think they definitely need to be reduced. And
well, I can already tell you it's going to be a strain on the teams because to start the year, we will have a triple header in April, a triple header in May. We will race every Sunday in June, race August, come back, have a triple header in September, and then we will have another triple header after that, October 22nd through November 5th. There's going to be, the F1 teams already said they don't like doing triple header weekends. There's now 4 of them, including a quadruple weekend, which is every week in July. This is not NASCAR or a national level series. These individuals, men and women, have to fly to 21 different countries, or 20 different countries, at least. When are they supposed to get a break? When are they supposed to relax during this season? Because from March, really from February 23rd to November 26th, these people will not be home. That is a lot of living out of suitcases. That is a lot of airports. That's a lot of customs.
That's a lot
that
of
is
shipping
rough.
your car. That's a lot of shipping the car, getting it to the track, putting it back together again. Yeah, man. I feel bad for these guys.
It's going to be a drag. It really is for the teams, and for the fans. We get more racing. But
and another thing is, like, when do you stop development? Like, the season's longer now, so now you're going to think about, like, do I stop development, like, around September? Do I stop it around October?
I mean, if you stop it in September, there's still 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 6 races left. But
that's what I'm saying. When do you stop development?
I have no idea. I really don't. But let's get into where the races are going to be, because then we have a fun game we're going to play after. The season will get started with preseason testing in Bahrain. Hopefully we won't have any more wars break out during that time. March 5th, we will start the season with the Bahrain Grand Prix. From there, we will go to Saudi Arabia. Hopefully there's no more attacks on oil refineries while we're trying to practice. Then we will go to Australia. Can you just tell how petty I am right now, by the way? So we'll go to Australia. Then we'll go to China if we don't have any more pandemic issues.
Oh, my God.
Be nice. Be nice. It's not like... I'm going to move on. Azerbaijan, who's currently in a war with Armenia, apparently. So we'll see if that race continues. Then we'll come back to Miami. Then we'll go to Imola for this race name is too long Grand Prix. Emilia Romagna. My Italian's horrible. Anyway, then we'll go to Monaco.
The pause.
Can you tell I don't like that place? Anyway, June 4th, Spain, which it's really weird to see Spain this far down the calendar. I'm so used to this.
I'm sorry, Daryl. Like I was telling you, though, I'm so used to Spain being like the 5th race of the season.
I'm so used to it being the start of the European season. Now it is like midway through the season. That's weird.
Yeah, that's really weird to me.
And then we will go to Montreal, June 18th. And then July 2nd to the home of Red Bull in Austria. The home of the first Grand Prix in Silverstone on July 9th. The Hungarian Grand Prix, July 23rd. And this is a change that I was not expecting. Belgium, which used to be the race that welcomed us back from the summer break, will now be the race that will bring us to the summer break on July 30th.
I'm not a fan.
That's
of that
weird.
change. I'm not a fan of that change at all.
I'm not either, to be honest.
Because that was the race to look forward to, honestly. Like, that was the race. Like, you get off of the doll race at Hungary, then you're just like, oh, Belgium's next week, and then you're just excited for Belgium. You're just like,
yeah, but Belgium wasn't that good this year.
That's this year.
Okay. Well, anyway, we'll take the summer break, come back August 27th to the Netherlands. On September 3rd, we will go to Monza for the Italian Grand Prix.
Italian GP Part 2.
Yep. September 17th, the Singapore Grand Prix. September 24th, we go to Suzuka for the Japanese GP. Then October 8th, which I believe is going to be our first new circuit of the year in Qatar at the Losail circuit. This is a returning circuit from the COVID year. And then we will go to Austin, Texas, October 22nd.
For the second
then we will
American
go,
GP.
Yeah, for the actual United States Grand Prix. Then we will go to Mexico City, for the Mexican Grand Prix, October 29th. Our final 3 races of the season, November 5th, the Brazilian Grand Prix in Sao Paulo. November 18th, this is a Saturday, the Las Vegas Grand Prix. This race, Michael, is going to start at 9 p.m. local time.
Yeah.
I will not be staying up to watch this race.
I will, but nah.
If I do, I'm going to hate it the entire time. There's a reason if we do night races in the West Coast, they start at 7. But they're not thinking about the West Coast, so whatever. Abu Dhabi at Yas Marina will end the season on November 26th. So that is going to be the 24 rounds of the 2023 F1 World Championship.
Stefano Domenicali, no more, please.
Yeah. We have no France this year, or in this upcoming year. There's a lot of talk whether or not Spain or Belgium, was going to be on the schedule. They are not. I mean, they are still on the schedule. There was a lot of talk that Monaco was going to be off the schedule.
First time France had to suffer for America.
Yeah.
Shout out to you history nerds out there.
That was awful, and you know it. Anyway, so now we're going to play the game of how would we change this schedule? And I guess we can just do it as our add deletes, as they say in Maryland General Assembly.
All
Michael,
right.
what races would you remove, and what would you replace them with?
Okay, so the 3 American Grand Prix. So I'm taking this scenario as if all the tracks are already built.
Mm-hmm.
I would take the US GP and just kind of alternate them.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes any sense. So one year it's Austin, then the other year it's Las Vegas, then the other year it's Miami.
Mm-hmm.
Another change I would make is I would take out. I would just take out Monaco.
Hey, you agree with me?
I mean, it's not a good. I understand why it's there. I understand why it's there, but I just think something important. I just think another great track should go on there. I'm gonna take off Monaco and I'm gonna replace it with Kalamia, the South African GP.
Yes.
Emilia Romagna, I'm gonna take that out and replace it with the Malaysian GP.
Yes.
I think Sepang was such a great track, and for it to go just disappear is really it wasn't right there. When that announcement was made, I was sad because that track was really good. It was really innovative, and I think it should definitely come back to the season. I think these cars would also really suit the track.
Malaysia was one of the best tracks,
and the
on the
weather,
Formula One schedule.
The weather was very unpredictable.
It was an amazing racetrack, and I miss it every day that it's gone. I hoped it would come back during the COVID season. I really want that track back. I really want it back on the schedule.
I do too. Another track I would get rid of. I think Hungary has been here way too long.
It's time for Hungary to go.
And I would replace it with Hockenheim. Hockenheim with the Nürburgring.
Yeah. We haven't had the German Grand Prix in quite a while.
Yeah, I think that would be a great track to come back to.
All right, so what?
You want to? Yeah, I was about to say, you want to go? You want to try and take out a race?
Yeah, I'll go. So this is how I would change the schedule. Number 1, Saudi Arabia, get it in the bin. I have opinions about that race that are not racing related that we're not going to get into. I'm replacing that with Malaysia. China can stay, but they're on thin ice as it is with their saber rattling. I'm trying to beat around the bush and not get to it, but Monaco, get it in the bin. I don't want to see another race at this place. I don't care about the party. I'm never going to go to it. I don't care about the glitz. I don't care about the pomp. The race is literally won on Saturday. If you watch qualifying, that is the order that the race is going to be in. To the point where qualifying should just be the race. You cannot pass there. I don't care how small you make the cars. The streets are too narrow for modern race cars to have a race. I am sorry, Monaco, you're coming off my schedule.
Quick question though.
Yes.
For China, how would you feel if instead of going to Shanghai, we go to Zhuhai?
I mean, China is about 2 more saber rattles at Taiwan to getting in the bin, so I don't really care.
Okay. It was just a quick question.
Yeah. I don't know much about that track either, except for it was on Project Cars. It was a pretty good circuit, but I don't know. I think China it's on thin ice with me for things that aren't related to racing. But anyway, Monaco's got to go. I would actually put the French Grand Prix back, but we would go to Manicures, which I thought was a awesome racetrack.
I thought Manicure was really great. I think instead of getting rid of it and going back to Paul Ricard, I think we should have updated the track.
That's where we should have went.
Yeah.
Is back to Manicures. I love that racetrack. I hope it comes back. I agree with you on Hungary.
Right. Yeah, Hungary is not a fun track. I think it should. What I was trying to do was take out races where there's not a lot of overtaking and replace it with tracks that definitely will have a lot of overtaking.
Or no overtaking in the case of Monaco.
I
would put
unless you want to do heroics into Sandoval.
I would put Nürburgring there where Hungary is, and then we'll come back to Belgium. This is going to be very controversial.
Uh-huh.
I'm taking the Netherlands off.
Oh, the
Hear me out.
Verstappen fans will be coming.
Hear me out. Chris
you.
isn't here, but he's going to kill me in the group text when he listens to the episode.
Oh man,
Hear me out. We said we're taking out tracks that don't have passing. The Netherlands only had 1 passing zone, and that's it. I think we have to take the Netherlands off the schedule. And I would just leave that blank, to be honest.
Really?
Give them an extra week.
Yeah, give them. All right,
if we're going to have this grueling of a schedule, take the whole month of August off. And then we'll come back for Italy, Singapore, and the rest. Is there anywhere else that I would take off?
Think very hard about it.
I'm trying to think. I like Austin, so that can stay. Vegas, I gotta see it.
Yeah.
Before I make a comment. Qatar was pretty good. Japan is okay. It's got some decent passing zones there. You can make that work. I like that track, so.
Yeah.
But I think that's how my schedule would look
Another thing I would do
Hmm.
is I would move Abu Dhabi with Brazil just so we can have the season finale at Brazil again.
It would be nice to go back to our ancestral end of the season at Brazil.
Or I would do something crazy and make it Japan again, but that's all that's asking for a lot.
That was years ago. I forgot the season used to end there. But if I'm for tradition's sake, I'm moving Australia to the start, and I'm moving Brazil to the end, and just moving the tracks in between that up. China is one more provocation from getting the bin. I might just leave that one blank too, because I can't really think of any more tracks that we don't run at that would be good there.
See, the thing
I
about this schedule is that there's a lot of good tracks, but there's also like a few bad tracks.
There's a lot of bad tracks, and
Like
the problem is people
Singapore,
keep
I don't think it's bad. I think I really like Singapore. That's why I can't.
Singapore's gotten better.
Yeah, that's why I haven't gotten rid of it because I'm like I think that's a really good street circuit.
My thing with Kailami, because people are clamoring for the South African GP back. That's going to be the same problem we have with the Netherlands: lack of overtaking.
Yeah, I can see that at Kalami.
And I've seen Kailami raced. It is a narrow circuit.
Quick
So I don't
question:
know.
I really feel like you wouldn't bring this back, but would you bring back Valencia?
God, no.
No.
That track was awful the 2 years we ran it.
Yeah.
Like, I would not bring that race back at all. There's been a lot of conversation, and then we're going to wrap up after this, about the possibility of the Indianapolis Grand Prix coming back. First, I don't know where you would put it in the schedule at this point.
Yeah, we don't need
Two,
4 American GPs.
I mean, that would be one for every region. East Coast Miami, Midwest Indy, Southern Texas, and then the West, you have Las Vegas. You would have all the regions covered, but I don't know what I just don't know what you would change.
Ooh, I want this track.
What?
You ever heard of Zolder in Belgium?
Yes.
Yeah, I kind of want that track.
Don't they race bikes there at this point?
Yeah, they do. It's a bike circuit and a GT3 circuit.
Yeah.
But I think Formula One would look really good there. There's a lot
Yeah.
of good passing. There's like a chicane section in sector two. Right after a hard braking section. I think that would be perfect for overtaking. Well, then again, the circuit is mostly known for its chicanes, but I'm like hard braking, DRS zones. You have potential there. Hey, Daryl.
There we go. Fixed it. Sorry about that. This is going to be the last week I use these headphones for this show because they keep cutting off on me.
Hey,
And that
Daryl.
just
You remember
crashes my whole
Caesar's
system.
Palace? You
Oh,
remember
the parking lot from God knows when? I don't remember many of those tracks because that was before my pay grade. So
yeah, Caesar's Palace.
Everybody that talks about it was crap. I've seen the track. It doesn't look that bad. Like, I think people are overstating how bad the Caesar's Palace race was.
I feel like all of Great Britain is gonna hate me for this, but I was like one off race at Donington Park.
Yeah. I don't even know about Donington Park.
Okay, one-off race at Branch Hatch.
That'd be fun. So, we'll see. The 2023 schedule is going to be interesting. Hopefully, it is a really good race. But hey, nearest the win this week, we have one race, and that is, of course, Texas. And I am going to take our championship leader, Chase Elliott, to lock his way into the round of 8. Michael, who you got?
So many good choices. I feel like this driver is a wild card driver.
Mm-hmm.
Don't really know if he's gonna do anything.
Mm-hmm.
And he's been hitting a lot of drivers on track, but I'm gonna go with Ross Chastain.
Ross has kept himself in check, so I think he will be fine. But we will see how things go this weekend. And remember, you want to play hashtag nearest to win, make sure you get your picks out before engines fire on Sunday to be entered into the contest. So, before we go, of course, I have to thank our Patreons. Bay Area Rays, M. Los Great, Key to the Gate, and one anonymous Patreon user. Again, if you want to get to us on Twitter, I'm at DKJunior12. Michael's at Michael_Ward25, and Chris is at Fiji Sims. Make sure you check out all our social media pages on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and of course, TikTok, the Clock app, our favorite app at this point, because Chris keeps sending me stuff from there. We love it. You love it. Make sure you check out our content there as well. And if you missed any episode of any IE Sports Radio show, make sure you check it out wherever podcasts can be heard, including the YouTube repository, which has a complete collection of episodes from the entirety of IE Sports Radio from the beginning to now. Just go over to IE Sports Radio on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, and you will get all of our episodes. So, thank you all so much for listening. For Michael, I'm Daryl. This has been The Extra Mile, and we will see you. Oh, and before we go, Arthur Parsons is taking Bubba Wallace to pick up the win at Texas. Thank goodness I caught that before the end. But hey, Bayou Bulletin one last time on a Thursday. Coming up next, we will see you at the next green flag. Good night, everybody.